Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Money Podcast, your source for all things money. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, today I have Gabe Petersen on the line. He's principal and real estate investor over at Great Northwest Homebuyers, and he's also a host of the Real Estate Investing Club podcast. Gabe, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man, so excited to get into today's topic. So I want to get into your podcast. Love to bring new podcast hosts and shows to my audience. But before we do that, let's go into what you're doing over at Great Northwest Homebuyers. Tell us a little bit more about your company, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do single-family, multifamily flips and rentals, as well as mobile home park acquisitions.
And so give us a little bit more. So where's the geography? What do you focus on in terms of industry? Are you agnostic? Give us a little bit more there, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So for single family, we're located up in Seattle, Washington, so we'd like to focus around that area. Obviously we look for distressed houses, so houses that need a little love. We go in there, we fix them up to like new condition, and we either sell them to the next homeowner, or we rent them out in the rental market. For multifamily and mobile home parks, actually multifamily acts pretty much the same as single family. It's just a little bit more complicated when it comes to acquiring them, as there are a few of them, and usually it's a commercial property, not a homeowner that is selling them. For mobile home parks, we look basically nationally. We really do like to acquire them near our home base here in Seattle, but we do market nationally. So we have a couple out in South Carolina, in Texas, that we're working on right now, and then we're buying one out in George, Washington, which is a funny name.
So a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, executives listening, a lot of them invest, some actively, some passively, and they're always looking for new syndicators to see what kind of deals they have going. So what kind of investors are typically a good fit to work with your company and your team?
Yeah, so we do not syndicate our deals as of yet. We've been using our own money, and then we have private lenders that we use for capital. We haven't put out for syndication, but if somebody did want to be part of the deal, we have considered it. So that's something that could be down the pipeline.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I love it as the company grows and everything else. It seems like that's the natural progression. Am I off? I mean, that's typically how it works, right? You start, and then at some point it gets bigger and bigger, and then you're like, all right, we got to go the syndicating route. We got a big deal in our hands.
Yeah, that does seem kind of how the natural progression goes. I guess it's all up to your own personal taste. When you get into the syndication realm, obviously you get into bigger deals. And we're kind of happy with where we're at. We sit, for mobile home parks, we sit around, 20 to 50 pads, which isn't too big. The deals are somewhere between, under $1 million. And so we're kind of happy with that little sweet spot. If we do want to go, $1 million plus, then we're going to want to syndicate. But right now we're living it. We're enjoying what we're doing.
That's awesome, and because it is that sweet spot, like just below the sights of those big institutional investors or hedge funds, but above your everyday mom and pop investors. So you have that kind of nice little sweet spot. I like it. I like what you're carving out in the market over there.
Yep.
So, Gabe, let's switch it up. I do want to get into this podcast. So love having other podcasters on the show and to introduce their podcast to my audience. So let's just get into it. So the Real Estate Investing Club, tell us more.
Yeah, so Real Estate Investing Club, I started it actually recently because COVID's happening, and I really like networking with other investors. And so, stuck up in my house, I was just thinking, what is a good way to continue to network, continue to meet people, continue to get new ideas on investing, and podcast just jumped into my mind. And so I started it, 2 months ago. And we've got 36 guests on the show now. We're going to start releasing daily once we have 100 episodes recorded. So we've got 36, and we've released 5 out there, so people can get a taste for what's going to happen. But we focus on pretty much every single niche and strategy that you can think of. I didn't really want to focus on what we do, single family, multifamily, mobile home parks. I wanted to get a breadth of experience across the board, and so yesterday I had a guest on who flips farms, which if I had not if I didn't have this podcast, I would never have somebody who flips a farm. So
he's a farm flipper. There's alliteration there. I love it. I'm in.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Tell me he owns farmflipper.com. That's awesome.
You'd think, right? You'd think.
So I know you've recorded quite a few episodes, so over 30. First off, congrats on that. It's a big milestone. That being said, this is a loaded question. I'm just going to throw it out there, Gabe. I ask all my podcasters this. Give us a flavor of the content that you're putting out there. What's one of the favorite moments that you've had on the podcast so far? Like, it could be an interview, it could just be a moment, it could be. Give us that.
Yeah. So that's a good question. Let's see.
I told you it was loaded. I started out by saying it's loaded. It's like if you have kids telling you which kid is your favorite. It's like, did this guy just ask me that? Yes, I did.
Well, I guess so. Every person that comes on the show, I ask them. I like to get stories from my guests. Actual stories, not just numbers and data. So I ask them. I tell them real estate. It's a roller coaster. Sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down, both financially and emotionally. Take us to one of those low times, one of the times that you're at the bottom, and give us the stories that came from that and the lessons that you learned after that. And so I'd ask everybody this, and I guess it's not one individual moment, but the responses from that question have been pretty solid. People think about it. They give really, really strong, thoughtful responses. And a lot of them come from the 2008 dip, actually. So a couple of them had to go into bankruptcy after that 2008 crash. And, now they're back to doing $2 million, $3 million deals. And so just hearing that turnaround from the low point and seeing their progression onward is it's pretty uplifting.
Man, that's extremely uplifting and inspiring, as to say the least. So that's awesome. So Gabe, if somebody's listening to this and they want to learn more about Great Northwest Homebuyers, I know you're not in full syndication mode or anything like that yet, but I'm sure there's people listening right now that want to follow you and connect, and maybe some people that are some investors that have some good stories that want to get on your show. What's the best way for people to reach out and to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way now is probably just go to our to the podcast website. We're still working on the website, but all the information will be there. Just go to www.therealestateinvestingclub.com.
And best way for people to learn more about Great Northwest Homebuyers?
Great Northwest Homebuyers, you can go to our website, greatnorthwesthomebuyers.com, but that's a seller's website. It's not for investors. The best way is actually just to reach out to me on LinkedIn, or just get probably LinkedIn. That's probably the best way.
Awesome. Well, Gabe, wishing you much luck on the new podcast and continued success over at Great Northwest Homebuyers, really carving your niche in your market. So that's all great stuff there. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Money, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments in the video. I'd love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Gabe, thanks again for coming on the show.